Tonight, we can report that the cartel pipeline stretching from Sinaloa all the way to Seattle has been successfully dismantled.
59 pounds of fentanyl pills and powder seized in this case could have yielded a staggering 6.9 million lethal doses. 59 pounds of...
Hidden in plain sight, February 14th, 2025, 5:47 a.m. Lynnwood, Washington. The strip mall sits unremarkable against the gray morning sky. A nail salon, a tax preparation service, a storefront with faded lettering advertising check cashing and wire transfers. Agent Maria Torres adjusts her tactical vest and checks her watch. 17 simultaneous raids across 3 counties will execute in 13 minutes. The money transfer business had been operating for 7 years. Licensed, regulated, inspected annually by state authorities. The owner paid his taxes, sponsored a local youth soccer team, attended community meetings about neighborhood safety. He was also moving $400 million in cartel proceeds through a network that stretched from Seattle's suburbs to Sinaloa's mountain strongholds. The discovery that changed everything. It started with a traffic stop, not in Washington, in Arizona, March 2024. A highway patrol officer pulls over a Ford F-150 for a broken taillight outside Tucson. The driver seems nervous. Consent to search. In a hidden compartment beneath the truck bed, $230,000 in vacuum-sealed bundles. The driver talks, mentions a name, a business in Washington state. The DEA makes a call. Special Agent Jason Chen reviews the business records. The storefront in Lynnwood processes wire transfers. Legitimate transactions to Mexico and Central America. Family remittances. Small business payments. Everything appears standard, except the volume. The business is moving $12 million monthly through an operation that should handle maybe $2 million based on the neighborhood demographics and foot traffic. Chen requests financial records going back 3 years. The pattern emerges immediately. Bulk cash deposits, always under $10,000 to avoid currency transaction reports, but dozens per day, hundreds per week. The timing coordinated, the amounts precise. They begin surveillance in May 2024. Watch the storefront, count customers. 12 people enter during an 8-hour period. 11 appear to be legitimate customers sending small amounts home. One man enters carrying a duffel bag, stays 7 minutes, leaves without the bag. The network reveals itself. The wiretap authorization comes through in June. The conversations are careful, coded, but patterns emerge. The merchandise is ready for pickup. The shipment cleared processing. Confirm receipt of the package. The investigation expands. The Lynnwood storefront is not alone. Federal agents identify 14 similar operations across Washington, Oregon, and California. All connected, all moving money through the same downstream network of Mexican exchange houses with documented cartel ties. The operation works like precision machinery. Drug proceeds from street sales across the Pacific Northwest flow into these storefronts as cash, small deposits, multiple locations, never enough to trigger automatic reporting. The money gets converted into electronic transfers to seemingly legitimate businesses in Mexico. From there, it vanishes into cartel financial networks that fund operations from poppy cultivation to human trafficking to arms purchases. Financial analysts trace the flow. In 2024 alone, the network moved $327 million. The year before, $281 million. Going back 5 years, the total exceeds $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion in drug proceeds, laundered through businesses operating with valid licenses under the noses of state regulators. The evidence mounts, September 2024. Undercover agents approach the Lynnwood operation. They pose as traffickers needing to move bulk cash. The owner, Miguel Santos, age 47, explains the process. He will accept cash in any amount. He charges 4%. The money will arrive in Mexico within 72 hours. No questions asked, no documentation required beyond basic transfer information that can be completely fabricated. The agents return with $50,000 in marked bills. Santos accepts it without hesitation, provides a reference number. 3 days later, confirmation arrives that the funds reached a currency exchange in Culiacán, the same exchange flagged in 17 previous DEA investigations linked to the Sinaloa Cartel. The federal team builds the case methodically. Bank records, surveillance footage, recorded conversations, undercover transactions. They identify the hierarchy. Santos runs the Lynnwood operation but reports to a coordinator in California who manages the entire West Coast network. That coordinator communicates directly with cartel financial operatives in Mexico. By January 2025, prosecutors have compiled evidence sufficient to charge 43 individuals across 4 states. The charges include money laundering, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, operating an unlicensed money transmitting business, and racketeering. For the top-level organizers, the charges carry potential sentences of life imprisonment. The sweep February 14, 2025. 6 a.m. precisely. 17 locations simultaneously. Federal agents in tactical gear. Search warrants, arrest warrants. The element of surprise is absolute. At the Lynnwood storefront, agents find Santos in the back office. He is counting cash. Approximately $180,000 in bundled bills surrounds him. A ledger sits open on the desk, recording the previous day's transactions in handwritten code. His laptop is running encryption software. But Agent sees it before he can activate the wipe protocol. Across the region, similar scenes unfold. In Tacoma, agents discover a hidden room behind a false wall containing $400,000 in documentation, linking transfers to specific cartel operatives. In Portland, they arrest a coordinator attempting to flee through a back exit with 2 duffel bags containing $320,000. In Sacramento, they execute warrants at 3 locations within 30 minutes, seizing computers, phones, cash counting machines, and records. The total cash seizure exceeds $3.2 million. But the real value lies in the evidence. Computer hard drives containing transaction records, communications with cartel contacts, lists of courier networks, documentation of the complete operational structure. But the betrayal deeper than crime. The investigation reveals something beyond the money. Miguel Santos held a valid money services business license issued by the Washington State Department of Financial Institutions. He had passed background checks, submitted required reports, attended mandatory training on anti-money laundering procedures. State records show his business was inspected in March 2023. The examiner found no violations, noted that Santos maintained proper documentation and appeared to operate in compliance with regulations. How did a licensed, regulated business move $400 million in cartel money without detection? The answer exposes systemic failures. State regulators conduct examinations based on submitted paperwork and surface-level compliance. They lack the resources for deep financial analysis. They do not have access to federal databases tracking cartel financial networks. They cannot execute wiretaps or conduct undercover operations. They inspect what they are shown and rely on businesses to self-report suspicious activity. Santos reported nothing. His paperwork appeared clean. His business seemed legitimate. State regulators moved on to the next examination without discovering the truth. The human cost federal prosecutors emphasized the impact. This was not victimless financial crime. Every dollar laundered represented drugs sold on American streets, opioids that fueled the addiction crisis, methamphetamine that destroyed communities, cocaine that funded violence. In 2024, Washington State recorded over 2,000 drug overdose deaths. The Sinaloa Cartel supplied a significant portion of the fentanyl flowing into the region. The money Santos laundered funded the production and distribution networks that put those drugs into circulation, but victims extend beyond overdose statistics. Cartel operations involve human trafficking, forced labor, extortion, and murder. The money flowing through the Seattle suburbs financed kidnappings in Mexico, armed violence along trafficking routes, corruption of Mexican officials, the expansion of criminal infrastructure that destroys lives on both sides of the border. Special Agent Chen addresses reporters at a press conference the day after the arrests. These were not just financial transactions, he states. Every transfer enabled violence. Every dollar moved represented harm to communities here and abroad. The defendants facilitated industrial-scale drug trafficking while hiding behind legitimate business facades. The legal reckoning. The prosecutions move forward rapidly. Federal prosecutors offer reduced sentences to lower-level participants who cooperate. Many accept. They provide testimony detailing the operational structure, confirm cartel connections, verify transaction records. Miguel Santos and 6 co-defendants choose to fight the charges. Their trial begins in July 2025. It lasts 3 weeks. The jury deliberates for 11 hours. The verdict, guilty on all counts. At sentencing in September 2025, prosecutors present victim impact statements. A mother whose son died from a fentanyl overdose describes finding him unresponsive. A former addict describes how methamphetamine destroyed his family before he achieved sobriety. A DEA agent who worked undercover in Mexico describes witnessing cartel violence funded by networks like the one Santos operated. The judge sentences Santos to 28 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole. His co-defendants receive sentences ranging from 15 to 23 years. The message is clear. Facilitating cartel operations carries consequences as severe as drug trafficking itself. The cooperating defendants receive lighter sentences. between 5 and 12 years, depending on their level of involvement and the value of their testimony. Several express remorse. Others show no emotion. All will spend years behind bars. The systemic questions. The Seattle case forces examination of broader vulnerabilities. How many similar operations exist undetected? How much cartel money flows through licensed businesses while regulators remain unaware? Federal officials acknowledge the challenge. Money service businesses number in the thousands across the United States. State regulators lack resources for comprehensive monitoring. Federal agencies focus on the largest investigations, but smaller operations may escape scrutiny. The Department of Justice announces enhanced cooperation with state regulators, new training programs, better information sharing, additional resources for financial analysis. But experts acknowledge that determined criminals will continue seeking vulnerabilities in the regulatory system. The cartels adapt constantly. When one laundering method becomes too risky, they develop alternatives: cryptocurrency, trade-based laundering, real estate transactions, shell companies. The financial networks supporting drug trafficking evolve as fast as law enforcement can counter them. The investigation continues. The February arrests closed one chapter but opened others. Evidence seized during the raids has generated dozens of leads. Federal agents are investigating additional business owners who may have received cartel funds. Financial analysts are tracing money flows to identify other nodes in the network. International cooperation with Mexican authorities continues to map the downstream financial infrastructure. 3 additional arrests occurred in March 2025, 2 in California, 1 in Oregon. All involving money service businesses with similar operational patterns to the Seattle network. Federal prosecutors expect more charges as the investigation progresses. The seized assets, cash, property, vehicles, equipment, will be forfeited. Proceeds will fund future law enforcement operations and victim compensation programs. The total value exceeds $12 million, but that represents a fraction of the money the network successfully laundered before detection. The warning. The Seattle case demonstrates an uncomfortable reality. Criminal enterprises operate alongside legitimate businesses. They exploit regulatory systems designed for honest actors. They hide behind licenses and inspections and community involvement while facilitating large-scale criminality. For every network dismantled, others continue operating. The demand for drug trafficking remains. The profits remain enormous. The incentive to develop sophisticated laundering operations remains powerful. Federal law enforcement achieved a significant victory in Seattle. $400 million in cartel pipelines shut down. 43 defendants facing justice. A sophisticated network dismantled, but the broader war continues. The cartels remain operational. The drugs keep flowing. New laundering networks developed to replace those destroyed. The investigation sent a message, but whether that message deters future operators remains uncertain. The risk increased. The consequences became clear. But for criminals moving hundreds of millions of dollars, the potential rewards may still outweigh the dangers. The strip mall in Lynnwood remains standing. The storefront sits empty now, upper windows covered with brown paper. A notice on the door announces that the business license has been revoked. Neighbors walk past without looking. Most never knew what happened inside, never understood that their ordinary suburban shopping center housed a major artery in an international criminal network. That ordinariness was the point, the camouflage that made the operation possible, the banality that kept it hidden for years while hundreds of millions of dollars flowed through to fuel violence and addiction on 2 continents. The February sweep ended this particular network, but somewhere another operation is starting, another seemingly legitimate business opening its doors. Another coordinator connecting suppliers with financial infrastructure. The cycle continues. Law enforcement investigates. Prosecutors charge. Courts convict, and the next network adapts and evolves and begins moving money while authorities work to detect it. The question is not whether similar operations exist. The question is how many and how long before federal agents knock on those doors at dawn.